once I got to race with actual sprinters, with, actual leadouts, it changes your whole idea of who you are as a cyclist. Hey, welcome back to the Glycogen Cycling channel. So I got a comment on one of my videos that they want to see me do a video on beginner cyclist looking to enter their first race. So I thought I would just, show some footage of a race that I was totally in over my head and talk about my first race, and then give a few tips on what I think you should do if you're looking to enter your first race. So this race is the classic, the Downer Classic in Tour of America's Dairyland. Super iconic race. This was the 2018 edition. I actually didn't do it this year, which is the first time in, I think, 3 or 4 years. But it's a super fast race. This whole series is super fast. And in 2018, they only had a Pro 1-2, and I was a Cat 2, where normally they have a 2-3 race. So it was just, it was a big fields. I mean, there was like 150 guys in these fields. So I pretty much finished mid-pack every race. That being said, though, I still finished. So I think that's the main goal of any beginner, is to just, get in their first race and finish. And I'm going to hopefully explain how to do that in this quick video. So my first race, I have a little different kind of story, because I was actually at school at Indiana University, and I was training for the Little 500 for about 6 months before I entered my first race, 6 or 7 months or so. So the Little 500 was actually my first race that I ever did. And if you don't know what that is, you can search it on Wikipedia real quick after this video. But essentially, it's the largest collegiate bike race in the country, based on number of attendees, because it's just a big party at Indiana, basically. So I was training for that, and the first race I entered was the Monsters of the Midway, which was in Chicago. And I actually looked it up on Road Results. So if you don't know what that is, it basically has all of your results from all the races you do for USA Cycling. So I looked it up. It was May 10th, 2014. It was a Cat 5 race, and I finished 5th out of 47 guys. So, like I said, I was, training for 6 months before this, like super hard, with guys that are much stronger than me. So it just makes sense that I was in the top 5 or so for that race. But obviously, I don't necessarily recommend training for 6 months before you enter a race. I think it's good to, test yourself before then. So that's kind of what I'm going to suggest doing, is just, before you get out on your first race, do a couple hard group rides. Like, get the feel for what a fast pack feels like. How to handle turns, how to, feel, what does it feel like when you are on the rivet, basically, going really hard into the red zone. What does that feel like, and how do you handle your bike next to people when you're going, 34 miles an hour, as you see? How does that feel, basically? And I think it's important to, get that feeling before you are in a race situation where it is a little bit more aggressive than a group ride. So I think that's important to, get that pack feeling. And it's also, drafting is a crucial skill. Like, if you want to be a bike racer, you have to know how to draft. So if you've never ridden with a group, I would recommend, even just doing a slow group and knowing how to draft before you get into that first race, because, there's no way you are going to be able to be in any sort of position to win or stay with the pack if you don't know how to draft. It's just you save too much energy by drafting versus being out solo. So, yeah, do a couple group rides. I'm sure there's some in your area that are fast, and honestly, don't worry if you get dropped. I was doing the local group ride for probably a year where I was getting dropped every single week, and I still got 5th in my first race. So go out there, get dropped, and then go back next week and get dropped again. And every time, just try to stay on a bit longer, Try to learn where you're making mistakes. If you're surging out of corners, make sure you're understand that and try to conserve energy in that corner next week. And just eventually you're going to be, sticking with that group. And then in a year from then or 2 years from then, you're going to be the one on the front driving the pace, dropping other people off the back. So that's just, there's no reason to be ashamed if you get dropped. You just need to, just go back and do it again. Like, honestly, everyone got dropped there first. Everyone's getting dropped in a race before. I still get dropped in races sometimes, So you just saw that crash, and that leads me to my next point, which is stay towards the front if you can. Obviously, just by, statistics, there's going to be more likelihood that you are going to get caught up in a crash if you're in the back, just because there's more people in front of you. There's more opportunity for things to go wrong. So if you're in the front, you're going to be able to, avoid crashes a little bit more than if you're in the back of the race. But that being said, if you don't have the fitness to be in the front, then just hang on the back. It's honestly, it's your first race, so it's not that big of a deal whether you're on the front or on the back. Just, do as best as you can, honestly. You're going to have plenty of opportunities to, make it up and do better in the next race. And what I was saying before is if you get dropped, honestly, look at that as like a blessing, because it is so hard to get stronger if you are the strongest one there, because you have to then mentally push yourself instead of other people pushing you to make you stronger, if that makes sense at all. When I'm riding with stronger people, I'm just I go 10 times harder, just try to stick with them, try to, measure, if you know what I mean. And it just, honestly, it's just so much nicer to, not have to worry about pushing yourself and doing a ton of intervals if you're just riding with people that are always stronger than you. I think up until I got to a Cat 2, I really didn't even do intervals. I was just doing group rides and just going really hard on group rides. Maybe I have a little bit of better genetics than most people, but I think if you're, just riding hard on a group ride, you're going to be, you're going to have more confidence riding in a pack of people, and you're going to have, I think you're going to be plenty strong to do well in a ride or race, just by riding in a group, fast guys. So now that you are decided to get into your first race, what I'd recommend is always protect your front wheel. So if you are, in this situation like I am now, don't be overlapping wheels with the guy in front of you. So always be aware that when the group is slowing, to maybe just go around the guy like I did there. Instead of braking and putting half your wheel in front of his rear wheel, because that's when crashes happen. If you put your front wheel halfway in front of the guy in front of you and he swings over to the right and takes out your front wheel, most likely you're going to be the one crashing, not the guy in the back, because you're more stable on your back wheel versus your front wheel. Your back wheel is, more attached to your frame versus your front wheel is your fork, which your fork can twist and turn, so protect your front wheel, because that's how crashes happen, by guys rubbing wheels and not being able to, keep it upright that way. So those are the two things I would recommend: is try to stay in the front to avoid crashes and protect your front wheel as best as you can. And if you overlap wheels for just a minute, or a second, I should say, then just be aware of that and, try to have an out if something happens. Like, just be able to get out of that situation as quickly as possible, because it's definitely not ideal. That's 9 times out of 10 how crashes happen, is just overlapping wheels and, just losing your balance basically. And what I'm going to say is, all these topics I can pretty much go into a lot of detail on. So I think I'm going to make a whole series of like beginner cycling videos of what to do. I kind of wanted to do this video just as like a total overview. I didn't script it out or anything. That's why I'm all over the place. But I just wanted to, get my main thoughts out there and help anyone in the immediate, way that I can. But if you have any specific questions, please let me know in the comments. I will be sure to make a specific video on that topic. And I'm probably going to go into depth on a lot of the things I talked about in this video. But if you have any specific pressing questions or ideas you want me to talk about, let me know in the comments, because I'll be sure to make a video on that topic specifically. So we have a couple minutes left in this clip, and I just want to talk a little bit about if you're in the situation like I am, where you've been training a while and you decided you want to enter your first race. What's the best way to win? What's the best way to win? And this is the last thing I'm going to talk about in this video, but I'm definitely going to make a detailed video about this, because it's one of the mistakes I think I missed when I was in the lower categories. And that's learn your strengths and where you actually stack up to the competition. So when I was a Cat 5, 4, and 3, the way I won and got in the top 5, top 3 podium, top 5, top 10, the way I got in all of those positions was basically by sprinting, having good positioning and being able to follow the right wheels to the line, and occasionally pop off the right wheel and go for the win. Once I got to a Cat 2, I am definitely not a sprinter. Once I got to race with actual sprinters, with, actual leadouts, it changes your whole idea of who you are as a cyclist. So sure, if you have a good, decent pop and you can come around those guys in the Cat 5, sure, do it. But what I'd recommend is, when you're a Cat 5 to even a Cat 3, learn how to win a bike race in multiple ways. Learn how to win it in the sprints, learn how to win it in the breakaway, learn how to win it on a last lap flyer. Learn all of these different tricks and, how you can win a bike race in multiple ways. Because once you get to a Cat 2, the whole thing changes, honestly. Like, everyone is dialed in, they know where they're at. And that's one of the things I kind of missed out on, and now I'm, have to catch up. Because, I can follow the right wheels to the line, but there's no way I'm sprinting for first place, basically. So, just be aware of that when you are, riding around doing your races, because it's a super critical skill to learn how to win in multiple ways. Because bike races don't always come down to sprints. A lot of times they're breakaways, and you have to recognize when the right time is to go for a breakaway and when's the right time to sit in for a sprint. So that being said, hopefully you guys learned a little bit of something from this video. Hopefully I didn't, ramble on and not make any sense. Kind of felt like I did in the moment, but I'm just going to get my ideas out there, and I'm going to come up with a whole series of beginner cyclist videos, because I think it's super important, and a lot of guys have these questions. There's not too many videos out there that are, helping in this way. So again, let me know in the comments your questions, and I'll be sure to get to those. And one last thing I want to talk about, now that I thought about this, is there's going to be guys out there in the Cat 5s who are what we call Cat 5 pros. Eric. So they're going to be guys that are super strong, just like they know how to sprint, they know how to do breakaways, they know everything. Don't be discouraged by that. Like, you may get your doors blown off, but just take that as a blessing that there's guys around your area that are stronger than you, and there's an opportunity for you to ride with them and get even stronger, because that's honestly like the best thing in the world, to ride with guys that are stronger than you. It just, your fitness grows like exponentially, honestly. So again, make sure you guys subscribe, like this video, and let me know any questions you have in the comments. Again, this is Glycogen Cycling. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.